Elise's grandparents, Charlie and Hannah, were well known in Landover for their inn at Apple Hill. Elise grew up in that safe and happy place and even got proposed there. But when her grandparents died, she knew that she needed to keep up the legacy and restore Apple Hill, which her husband wasn't interested in, resulting in her divorce. Life is a bumpy road, but the path of maintaining Apple Hill is a little extra bumpy for Elise. People love it there, but she is still not managing to keep up the costs to keep the inn renovated. With leaky pipes and ceilings, faulty knobs and gas valves, Elise goes to a bank to request a loan with a renovation plan. The man is nice to her and knows her, but cannot approve a loan without seeing 15% gross profit in business. Meanwhile, in New York, Luke Bellwether, the CFO of Bellwether Hotels, is extremely busy keeping himself surrounded by work all the time. His mother has to lie to bring him to lunch so she can tell him to relax a little. Luke tells her he doesn't need a vacation, which she knows, but turns out the employees need a vacation from him, because every time he stays overtime, they all feel obliged to do so too. So she cuts him off from company accounts and communications, practically suspending him for 2 weeks to live a little. Lying in his pajamas, Luke sees a picture with his friends Jared and Candace and calls Jared. Reminiscing memories with them, Luke decides to use his vacation properly and visits them in Landover, the place where he grew up and spent his entire childhood. However, he considers a stay at Apple Hill a must for his trip to complete. Elise's friend Nora seems to be the data entrist of this inn and keeps begging her to log the data electronically, but Elise insists that doing this in big registers and on paper has its charm. After telling Nora to keep room 11 out of commission due to a leak, Elise leaves. Luke is in town and noticing how things have changed since his last visit. Seeing the arcade where he spent his teenage years makes Luke sad about it. Jared tells him about an original game at Tony's Pizza, but Candace calls him for business, leaving Luke by himself. Elise walks in the same place to use the game, but Luke has been playing it for a long time. She goes to ask how long he has since other people want to use it too, but he offers her multiplayer, showing he has no plans to move anytime soon. Elise seems to use this machine as therapy after having a bad day, but she also proves to be childish when she tries to block Luke's game because he is about to beat the high score. Too bad he does that still. Seeing his name on top of multiple Elises, he figures that the woman who walked out is in fact Elise. Back at the inn, Elise is ranting to Nora like a whiny little girl about how bad that person is just because he beat her high score. Talk about maturity. While looking at the guest list, they notice the name Luke Bellwether, and Elise assumes he is coming to try and buy the inn. It just so happens that Luke walks in at that time and turns out to be the game guy. Elise acts like a brat instead of being hospitable as per her grandparents' legacy and tries to move him out. Luke is insistent that he wants to stay, so she sends him to the leaky room 11. The room doesn't just have leaky pipes, but the doorknob is messed up enough that it comes in Luke's hand when he tries to fix it. Later on, seeing Elise's rude behavior towards him, it is no wonder that he sees Elise running this place into the ground, because it seems to be that her petty behavior comes between her business often. Later on, Elise and Nora are preparing for the inn's 67th apple harvest, but there's also a fear deep down that people not showing up will not work for the betterment of their only coming doom. While talking with Jared and Candace are talking to Luke, he gets to know that Elise is the person he knew from high school. He also hears quite an opposite opinion about her in comparison to how she treats him, making him wonder what he did wrong to her. At night, after worrying about only a few people signing up for the harvest event, Elise hears a hammering sound and follows it to find Luke has fixed all the issues with his room. However, instead of being grateful, she is mad at him for not keeping the room in the same miserable state. At the apple harvest, Elise first tries to deny Luke's name is on the list, is then rude to him, and proceeds to hand him a broken basket to collect them. Great patience of the guy to still focus on enjoying his time. Seeing Luke and Jared together and pretty close makes Elise wonder if she has gone too far. Well, even if he was up for some deal, she indeed went too far. After the harvest, Elise talks to Jared and gets to know Luke studied with them and lived here, clearing her delusion that he was here for the inn. When she goes to his room, he is already packing his stuff and takes away the note from her hands where she had written chores to fix around the entire inn for him before just torturing him. As if he was obliged to do that. Luke tells her he wanted to cherish his times in this inn by living here again, but the disastrous state and treatment make it better for him to leave and protect his precious memories associated with the place. The next day, Elise and Nora each take an apple pie to go to Luke and Chuck. Chuck is the electrician guy helping the inn around who Nora has a crush on. But seeing a girl come out from his door, she hands the pie on behalf of Elise and leaves. Meanwhile, Elise apologizes for the pie, which Luke accepts. Inviting her for coffee, he gets to know her state and why she jumped to regressive conclusions. He then tells her he might be able to help bring the profit soon. He tells them to do a Halloween party this year, something that her grandparents stopped 15 years ago. To get decorations for free, he goes to an elders club and requests their help in exchange for free admission to the party. After that, Luke gets sad about another thing changing in Landover. His favorite pumpkin-flavored ice cream is not sold anymore. The next day, after buying pumpkins, getting the decor, and some lighting, Elise and Luke come back. However, Elise didn't know about the lights because she knew they could not use them with the faulty panel. Luke suggests pitching on for a new panel, but Elise sternly refuses this handout. Later at night, Luke walks to Elise at night and says that he meant it as a loan, but Elise doesn't want to start this kind of dependency. She thinks of canceling the event, but Luke has already posted it online and got 110 tickets. The next day, they have around 200 guests, but Elise doesn't know how to arrange resources for them. Back in New York, Luke's mother seems to have gotten into a problem, realizing the expense of sending Luke away spontaneously. Luke is talking to Jared and gets the idea of using generators for extra lights. Elise later takes Luke somewhere. In that building are all of the memorable souvenirs of achievements in the town. She took him because he mentioned winning a soccer championship, but not having a picture and trophy to himself. With high school demolished, he worried it was gone forever, but it was placed in this building as a memorable achievement. Nora had gone electronic behind Elise's back. She got a platform on a 3-month trial and went for live reservations, automatically tracking the expenses side by side as well. Elise cannot be mad since the hotel is fully reserved for Halloween courtesy of this idea. Luke's mother finally manages to reach him and tells him to cut his vacation short and come back for an urgent matter. Luke meets Chuck and Nora and notices Nora's awkward behavior. He tries to signal Chuck about it, who thinks Nora is out of his league. Good thing he also mentioned his sister visiting him. Elise visits Jared and Candace to request space to prepare some food at their restaurant, but they offer to do the food at the party as their support and also their place's advertisement. Going out, she meets Luke, who plans to take her on an early dinner. She asks them to choose the place and takes him to his childhood home, of which Candace recently got the listing. Before going in, Luke mentions how he needs to leave for urgent work, but only after the party. During dinner, they talk about their lives, peace in Landover, Chuck and Nora, how he doesn't have a girlfriend, and much more during the time. When they go back, Elise can see something is awaiting her, but she didn't expect the inn to light up with beautiful decoration lights outside. Luke clarifies that he rented generators for that and didn't pay for the panel. Luke's mother also happens to visit him and sees how invested he is in the place and a certain person, understanding why he turned away from his phone. The next day, Luke talks to his mother, who is panicking about decisions that she needs to trust her intuitions like she did before he grew up, since she built all that. She also mentions how she can see Luke's the happiest he's ever been here. As the party is beginning, Elise clears the air about Chuck's sister to Nora. She then shows Luke the selfie wall, which was his idea, and then takes him to the special pumpkin ice cream corner she got prepared for him. The party is in full swing and everyone is the happiest there. Luke goes to Elise, telling her to take a moment and look at the result of her efforts. However, this happiness soon turns to heartbreak when Elise and Nora see after the party that they still haven't managed to reach the 15% profit scale. The cherry on top is that Luke has no choice but to leave Elise in this emotionally weak moment. The two clearly like each other a lot, but cannot fight the circumstances of the distance they have. The next day, Luke meets his mother, who tells him she already resolved the matter and why she wanted him here to tell her that he is free to move to Landover and live however he wants, and she'd never be disappointed in him. She can manage the work here for now, and he should do what his heart desires, which is also a certain person. In Landover, Elise goes to the bank to talk again about how she still managed to reach 13.7, but the same man interrupts her rant, telling her to listen to him. His son with his wife called him last night after 10 just to explain what an amazing time they had at her party. She proved him wrong by creating a great deal of excitement in Landover for a long time, and she has the potential to keep Apple Hill alive for a long while. In short, he is approving her loan, and Apple Hill is still going to be her grandparents' legacy under her name. Luke first goes to Jared to tell him he'd like to expand their tavern business with them. After that, he drives to the bank for Elise and meets her outside, telling her he's going to live here for now and she is a major reason behind his return home. As if with this relationship and the loan, things are already not getting better, Luke also manages to buy the arcade game from Tony's Pizza and place it in Apple Hill, creating a picture-perfect and full-circle moment.